Hey everyone, I'm Jari Bolander, co-founder and COO of Lab Sensor Solutions. We specialize in sensors as a service for the healthcare industry so that our customers can improve patient outcomes, reduce costs, and save lives. We are focused in the sensor network for healthcare because it's a huge opportunity. Meet Melissa. Melissa was misdiagnosed because her lab sample spoiled. Now she's facing lots of complications that could have been avoided. Unfortunately, this happens way too often and could happen to you or me. The number 3 cause of death in the US is preventable medical errors. And 70% of your diagnosis relies on a lab test. And the number 1 cause of lab errors is temperature and transportation issues. That's a $17 billion per year problem. Labs have spent billions on automated equipment to make their tests more accurate and predictable. Yet, they don't spend so much on getting your sample to their machine. In Lab Sensor Solutions, we solve this problem. Our patent-pending Sensor as a Service platform measures the temperature and location of perishable items so that they don't spoil. Our team has been in health tech for decades. Our CEO sold his company for $40 million, which was a 6x return on his investment. Our business model is super simple. We charge $25 per sensor per month, and we have over 85% gross margin. Our traction has been stellar. We have 6 customers with 145 sensors deployed, 8 in active trials, which will result in 2,000 sensors deployed, and 26 prospects halfway through our sales pipeline, which will result in 19,000 sensors deployed. We've done all of this traction on our own, but now we've got a bunch of partners. We've got 2 value-added resellers in the lab information system space, as well as a catalog distribution company. With these partners, we can reach hundreds of more customers. There's a couple of things that are going on in healthcare. The first, it's a major disruption, is the Affordable Care Act. And starting this year, labs will be reimbursed for value instead of volume, which means they really need to pay attention to their lab samples. And then the second thing that we're seeing is that laboratories are starting to get audited more, and people are focusing more and more on transportation of samples. I'd like to announce today, for the first time, that we have a lead investor, Launchpad Digital Health. We signed that this morning. And if you're passionate about saving people's lives through reducing medical errors, then let's talk. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jari. Judges, what do you think?
Yeah. Should we just jump in? Look, I did a ton of research on you when we were in the judging portal. What I'd really like you to explain, because I looked at your competitors, is how your patent is different, because there are a lot of folks out there that are doing temperature-based sensing, and I know you have a companion app as well. Can you go a little bit into your competitive differential?
Yeah, sure. So there are competitors out there. Most of the competitors do piecemeal approach. They'll sell you a sensor, they'll sell you the cloud, but they don't do a fully integrated solution for healthcare. And we've actually specifically done one for the clinical laboratory, because there are differences between just selling you a sensor or selling you a logger and then figuring out the entire logistics of healthcare cold chain. So that's our major competitive advantage.
So first of all, congratulations on the term sheet this morning. So curious to follow up on what Missy asked about sustainable competitive advantage. So it looks like you've got initial traction is taking off. That's also a good sign, something I look for. But in a space like this, one of the things I'll be also looking for is how do you create that sustainable competitive advantage? How are you thinking about retaining that over the long term?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of our strategy is adding value-added resellers and lab information systems. We know that it's all about the data, and integrating into those systems is vital for a complete, transparent supply chain. So we're actively looking at doing that more and more. We actually have 2 already, and we're working on 3 or 4 other ones. We really see us as sensors as a service, which means that not only the labs will benefit, but the people that need our data will easily be able to get our data, and that's a huge win for everyone.
Will you adapt your business model for those type of large-scale resellers vis-a-vis more individual labs who are just using the sensors and the apps?
Could you repeat the question?
Are you going to have different business models between companies that are large value-added resellers versus the users that go direct?
Yes, we'll adapt our business model as needed, yeah.
Yeah, my question is, and same here as with Caroline and Missy, which is, what's the defensibility here? If you're only looking at temperature data, for example, that's actually not very complex. What other kinds of data can you collect? Are your sensors restricted to just getting the temperature data? What other data can you collect? And what's your vision for having a data-driven business off that?
Yeah, so we track both the temperature and location of samples, and that's really critical. What happens in healthcare logistics, especially in cold chain, as I mentioned, the top two things that are the most problem is what's its temperature and where is it? And what we've seen is that a lot of times samples get lost. And so we have a lot of predictive analytics that determine, oh, this is in the right place or this is in the wrong place. So a lot of machine learning is involved with that. And the second thing is, yes, it's easy to measure temperature, but it's hard to act on temperature data if it's not in real time. So a lot of our competitors will just give you the data dump, but they won't have any actionable data on that. And that's what our algorithms are doing right now in the cloud. And we crunch a lot of data and use a lot of AI to figure out when things are about to go out of compliance so that we can fix it in the field and not have a spoiled sample. And also, it's a platform. We use Bluetooth Low Energy as the wireless communication protocol, so we can pretty much add any sensor that we need to. We've had some customers that want pressure and humidity and acceleration. They want to know if someone dropped it. So that's easily addable to our platform as well.
And have you been able to quantify how much customers are willing to pay for this capability?
Yes, we have. The $25 per sensor per month, no one's balked on that. They see this as twofold. The first is increase efficiency and actually reduce their costs because if they don't lose a sample, they don't have to redraw it and they don't lose business. And then the second thing is the regulatory component. A lot of regulators are asking, just like they asked 10 years ago about why don't you have a temperature thermometer in your refrigerator. I mean, 10 years ago that didn't happen. Now it's totally standard in the industry. You have to have calibrated thermometers inside your fridge, inside your lab.
Julie, what do you think?
So I'm actually curious about the sense of urgency to buy. I think that there's a lot of cost-cutting measures that a hospital system or a lab can take. So perhaps it would be helpful to understand a little bit about the sense of urgency associated with temperature in particular and lab sample perishability. And part of the reason I'm asking is to understand a bit more about sales cycle speed and how quickly you're going to get drawn into these accounts.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're seeing right now is that people are coming to us to talk about how they can solve their sample transportation issues. We've seen, because of the Affordable Care Act and this value versus volume reimbursement model, that if the lab screws up, they're going to have to eat the costs. And that used to not be the case, and now it is, starting this year. So we're seeing a lot of traction in customers saying, you know what, we've had auditors talk to us about this. We know that our temperature monitoring while in transit is subpar, and we need something to fix this. And so, those 26 customers that are halfway through our sales pipeline and the 8 trials that we have, no trial is ever canceled.
Are you selling to labs and hospitals and also independent lab chains and big national lab vendors as well?
Yeah.
So you're after all of those? Okay.
Correct.
Great.
Yes, to all of them.
I would imagine the sales cycle is going to be different if you're approaching enterprise labs.
It's healthcare. Sales cycles are like, everyone thinks, oh, what's your metric that matters every week? And you're kind of like, week? We're talking months kind of thing. So
Right.
It's healthcare, right? Everyone knows it's slow as molasses. Hopefully one day that'll change.
What's your cost per sensor?
The cost, so we have 85% gross margin, but it's a subscription-based. So it's, in volume, it's sub $10 per sensor. I mean, all of our guys on our company, we know how to make that kind of stuff. So
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thanks for your time.
Judges.
Great job.
Thank
Great
you.
job.